What's up, ballers? We are in the building. Welcome to Sideline, the Baseline with your hosts, MB and Klew, man.
Woo.
Coming right out the box with y'all today with two experts in the basketball world, Coach Jake Morton at Jacksonville State University, Alabama in the building, y'all, and Mr. Orlando Early. If you name it in basketball, he probably done did. So listen, when you talk about expertise from the little tights and AAU, the 8 and under, number one in the nation, all the way to who the new prospects, number one in the NBA draft, which we got to talk to him about. Is Melo? Is Melo in the building at number one, number two, number three? When Melo gonna show up? So, welcome, guys.
Welcome, Happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, look, we gonna jump right into it right now because Orlando was keeping us up to date with this game that's going on with Milwaukee and the Heat. You know, so what did they get the last shot off, or what's going on?
They didn't take it yet. It's a timeout with 8 seconds left. Miami did a great job defending their set, so Milwaukee wound up taking the timeout, and let's see what the coach draw up for the win. You know,
okay.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's a little easier to draw up a game winner when you got Giannis on the floor. But without him, we're gonna see what kind of coach he is, right?
Yeah,
exactly. That's why I'm going right to Coach Morton. What kind of play we looking for in this situation?
Well, Middleton's been on fire, so I'd be shocked if the ball's not in his hand and getting the shot somewhere. He's been really, really good at elbow action.
Okay, so find him his shot and his spot, or do you isolate it? How many seconds did you say Orlando left?
8.9.
8.9. So he might be able to work pick and roll, right? That's long enough for pick and roll.
No, now it's 1.9 right now.
Oh, okay, that's a wrap.
Well, hey, you see what Toronto did with the half a second.
Toronto made
see what they did.
Well, MB, you didn't let him know what happened. Now it's 1.9. DiVincenzo drove to the line and got fouled.
Yeah,
drove and got fouled. So now he's at the free throw line. 2 wins the game.
Oh wow! Pressure for a youngster. What is this? Year 2 for him?
I believe it is year 2. Yes.
Yeah. So we talking about.
The question is going to be if they can win the game without Giannis.
The first one.
Come on, Villanova.
Double A, we see you on top of it every time. Double A Adam in the building. He let me know he missed before you did. Your TV lag.
Okay.
So let's see what the Heat could do with 1.9 seconds left, huh? He called full timeout.
He missed. Wait, so he split him.
He made the second one?
Yeah. He missed the first one. He made the second one. Now the Heat got the ball with 1.9, and Bolster's going to draw something up. You know, with the Heat, they got offensively, they got a lot of different options they can go to.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, obviously with 1.9, you're going to have to get a kind of a catch and shoot situation here. So, you know, you can set a screen. Duncan Robinson shooting it well. Gordon Dragic is shooting it well. Jimmy Butler can score it off 1 or 2 dribbles. So they got a lot of options.
Man, you hit a name. You hit a name earlier, Duncan Robinson. Man, how impressed have you been with him this year, and especially to continue that in the playoffs?
You know, the thing for me that's the most impressive about him is his mental toughness. Because here's a guy that went to Division III, transferred. He had no Division I offers. Transferred to University of Michigan, proved he could play there and make it. Goes undrafted. Come in for a workout. I mean, I'm with the Grizzlies. We bring him in for a workout. And, you know, we didn't sign him. The Heat signed him to their G League team.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kept fighting and kept believing in himself. And now he's one of the best shooters in the NBA.
Those are stories I love to hear.
And guess what? He's sitting on the team with another great shooter in Tyler, Hero.
No question. Tyler comes from a little different background, and after this play, they just brought Duncan in. After this play, I got to tell you my Tyler Hero story with his toughness.
Oh yeah.
Jake, you were saying something, Jake?
No, I was saying Tyler Hero's his claim to the NBA is a little bit easier than Duncan. I mean, Hero played at Kentucky. He was a first-round draft pick, but he's a hell of a shooter.
Right. But he came out on fire, this year and proved a lot. He was considered one of those guys was going to have to work through being a player in this league, and he came right out like, "Look, I belong."
Oh yeah,
which is different. And I think about his toughness because his history is a little bit. And Coach Orlando probably gonna mention some of this, but he was hated by his own high school team. His whole state hated him.
What?
Yeah, hated him because he from Wisconsin and he committed to Wisconsin and decommitted and went to Kentucky, but he decommitted before the basketball season. It'll be so the whole season they doing all kinds of craziness in his yard. His own high school team booing him, so he getting booed out and away. So this kid is built for the moment.
Yeah,
he should have borrowed our boy from Carolina jersey and put "He Hate Me" on the back of his
to touch on what Klew was saying. So I'm at practice one day, and Calipari's tough, man. He's on those dudes pretty hard. And Tyler Hero came down and made a move, and he turned the ball over. And Calipari just jumped all over and told him, "That's not your game. You can't handle the ball. Just be a catch shooter. Stay in your lane." The very next time down, now Tyler Hero showed no emotion. The very next time down, he made a similar play, scored it, ran back down, looked at Calipari and said, "Now what? Now what?" I said to myself, man, that dude gonna find a way now. That dude believes in himself.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about some games, man, that was already played. When we last left here, our resident basketball guy, he straightened me. He said my Lakers probably ain't gonna sweep them, and they hadn't.
That's right.
We let them get a win. We want to have a little bit of spirit about themselves. But he counted my guys out, man. He said Toronto was done. And I'm like, Coach, have you watched Toronto? They built different, Coach. Talk to me.
Well, I mean, I have nothing to say. They tied it back up. I mean, you got the series now. I mean, Boston got to come and play.
Boston done, Coach.
You got to take your hat off to him. But that's that
Boston
winning
done.
That's that winning pedigree.
Yeah.
Championship pedigree.
Yeah.
It's starting to kind of seep through now. It's starting to seep through.
See, this is the stuff you talking about in your locker room right here. This Nick Nurse type of stuff that's getting your team to lose their best player in Kawhi Leonard and not miss a beat. They could care less about Kawhi. Who is Kawhi? We got this.
Yeah, I'm not going that far, but
I'm going. I'm there. Coach, they in the finals, Coach.
One or two best players in the league. I'm not going that far.
Coach, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, man.
The only reason why I say that is because with Kawhi, they actually did it, and we still got a long ways to go before they can do it.
Right.
That's the only argument I'm going to say about Kawhi. With Kawhi, they actually did it.
Hey, they carry Kawhi. That's what's being seen right now.
And you know what? I'm not making an excuse for Boston, but one thing you can't do in any sport, you can't get defeated twice. And what I mean by that is that they still drunk, right? Based on that half a second loss they had in the first game against them. Now they sleeping on the wheels and now they got to regroup. It's no different when I went to Seattle and they lost that heartbreaking to the New England Patriots and had the lingering effects of that loss affect the next season, right? And so you got to flush that thing down the drain and go and go on. And for them to, not bounce back and be like, you know what? Hey, we gave them a gift. Now let's go take it back. I was a little disappointed because I was right there with Jake. I was like, it's over. You can put a fork in it. All right, they're going to close this thing out just because of the way they were playing. But it's kind of hard when you're not shooting because right now they've been winning by the 3-point shot. But this last game, I think they shot like 20% from the 3-point line. So I mean, Boston they picked the wrong time to have an off night. And so I look for them to bounce back and get this thing going, man.
Well, kind of agree with you a little bit on that, MB. The 3-point line in this entire series has made the difference. Whoever shot the ball the best from the 3-point line has wound up winning the game. But the thing about Toronto, what they do have, man, is the Kyle Lowry effect is so strong. That dude is so tough.
There it is.
Competitor, and his personality and attitude is the whole team is picking that up. And here's a guy, I was looking at Giannis's minutes, and they're talking about he can't play so many minutes, and every night Kyle is playing 37, 38 minutes, and he's diving on the floor and he's bringing it. So it's going to be interesting. The bubble is going to be interesting for this series too, because you get those guys playing those kind of minutes, and then they have to travel, and then they have to play on the road and whatnot. Well, now it's different. They don't have that. These dudes going to walk back to their hotel room, and they're right there in that bubble, and it don't take as much out of them. So I think of all the series right now, that's the best one going on.
Yeah, but I think, you know what, you mentioned about Lowry, and I think Lowry, he's been showing up. He's got that mental toughness. But I think the key to that last thing was, what's the name was on the milk carton, man? Pascal. He finally showed up.
Right.
Right. And that's the thing, because he's been missing. Because you actually seen, I think, Fleetwood, I think that's his name, the other guard, that he's been aggressive. He's shooting the ball, right? Pascal, he the one been missing in action.
No, it's Fleetwood, man, the Cadillac. Riding in the back, sunroof top. Oh boy, don't act like you wasn't digging in the scene with the game till late.
Hey, I Fleetwood too, baby. Old school Fleetwood, baby. Cadillac, baby. Hey, man, and he's finally showed up this past game. So I think he's got to consistently show up and step up. As long as obviously with Lowry and Fleetwood, man, those boys are being aggressive the whole time. But Pascal, he's got to step up and consistently get it done. Because this past game, he was the leading scorer for Toronto, and he's got to show up every time, show up and show out every time.
Yeah, watching that last game, I like the adjustment that he made in that Jaylen Brown's defended him well, but Jaylen Brown has the advantage when Pascal stays out on the floor.
Exactly.
This game, he took him more to the mid-range and toward the block.
Right.
And he has the advantage there. And you're right. He was more aggressive and scored more.
Well, you know what, and you talk about that as well. And I'm gonna take the lead on this with Klew. But the same that about him being more aggressive, it seemed to me like that's what the Lakers was not doing. They was trying to play small ball with the Rockets. They were not being aggressive in the paint, and they was trying to feature AD in the paint, but they got away from it, man. They got to use their size. You can't. To me, they were selling for too many 3-pointers and whatnot, So you can't play it. You can't play Houston at their own game. And you got to play to your strength and get it done.
The thing that is interesting, you say that, Mike, because if you watch that game, their first game, the Lakers started that way. LeBron, he had a great post-up move. AD had a great post-up move on Harden. I mean, they started pounding that ball to start the game.
Right.
They had a lot of success, and they just totally went away from it.
Right.
It made no sense because they were crushing them.
And one key that I look at it is
we don't care nothing about them. That's why we did that. We don't care nothing about them. We gonna be disrespectful again tonight. Just let it be known.
No, they better start driving to the paint and use their size, because you're right. They started off the game. They was being intentional with it. They got away from it. And then you know what? Also, a telling stat that shows up is that they were even with the rebounds. And that's like, whoa, what's going on? So that lets me know they get out hustle, they get out position, and then looking at LeBron comments talking about now you got a good feel for their speed. Now, how it takes your whole game to get a good feel for that speed. Y'all need to box out. Y'all need to use your side and get that thing going,
I still think the Lakers are going to be fine. They're going to make the necessary adjustments tonight. I really do. I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to do a better job of protecting the three-point line. I mean, Harden and Westbrook and those boys, they are dynamic as offensive players in the league. So they're going to get theirs, but I think you just have to contain those other guys, that supporting cast.
Jake,
No
I agree with you, Jake. I think that the Lakers will make the adjustments, but I initially thought the Lakers would. I wouldn't say sweep them, but it wouldn't go 7 games. But it's going to be a closer series than I expected for a couple of reasons. One, the Lakers got to make a decision, like you guys said, whether we're going to use our size and dominate. If you're going to do that, then it can't be 41 to 41 rebounds.
Right.
You have to dominate the glass.
Right.
2, we got to dominate in the post. So, like you guys mentioned, AD has publicly said, I'm a 4-man. I'm a 4-man. Well, AD, if we want to win, we need you in the paint. We need you scoring around the basket, and he's got to make that decision. Now, the thing that Houston's done, man, their speed and quickness, the Lakers always at a disadvantage defensively with their matchup. They're switching and they're driving into the paint and kicking for open threes. And unless the Lakers can control them from getting into the paint too many times, it's gonna be a tough series. Now it's not gonna be as easy as people think, but I think the Lakers will beat them.
Hey, and Orlando, I agree with you. Because one thing I talked about when I was talking about the Rockets and the OKC series, I talked about Russell Westbrook, right? How he was selling for too many jump shots, and I think he's the 3rd leading scorer in the NBA in the paint, right? And I saw one thing I saw him doing this game, man, he was driving to the paint. He was driving by guys like they were stuck in quicksand. I mean, they really couldn't defend him. And I told Klew from the beginning, I say, man, if you can give Portland 2 games, I know the Rockets can get 2 games out of Lakers, but that's the thing, man. When he's driving like that, hey, Klew, he's a problem. Hey, like I said, hey, we talked about, the Rockets don't have anybody to stop AD. They don't have anybody to stop LeBron. But the Lakers don't have anybody to stop Harden. They don't have anybody to stop Russell Westbrook.
You keep saying that he is 24, man. He can. We're gonna give Westbrook 24. He can get 24 tonight too.
Hey, Klew, would you make an adjustment as the Lakers? Would you go small or would you stay big, Klew?
No, I'm gonna stay big and I'm gonna continue bullying. Like I know, man. Anybody in the NBA can beat any team on a night. But we're talking about a series here, so they gotta bring. Listen, what we can do is the same thing we did last game. Let's see if they can do it as well. So that's what you got to look at every time.
I'm gonna make this point in an 82 game season. You watch the Rockets play, and I remember going to scout them and saying to myself, I love James Harden's game, but I would hate to play with him. All right. So what those guys are doing now is they start to play one-on-one. Now, in that first game, I was amazed at how they drove and kicked the ball and shared the ball, and the ball was stopping and moving. Now, let's see if they're going to go back to who I really am. This is who I really am. And I'm going to stick in my hand, and I'm just going to play one-on-one, and they're going to be in trouble then.
All it takes for Orlando's to get down a few points, they will go back to one-on-one basketball. It's easy to play when you're up a couple points, the game is even. Let them get down a couple points to start pressing, and they're going to get back to who they really are. And that's who they are, a one-on-one team. That's why I think they can't beat the Lakers in the series, because it's just a one-on-one team.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Jake. Like I said, I just was predicting that they was going to at least get a couple games since Klew was pulling on what's his name, the Don, man, bragging about him. I say, man, if the Don can get 2, I know. Well, if Klew can predict the Don would get 2, I know Rockets with Harden and Westbrook can get 2. But I like what I kind of look this as a boxing match, right? I think the Lakers got to keep pounding to the body in reference to the paint and not get away from that, because then when you get to the 3rd or 4th period, then that's when it's going to show the difference, because then those guys, they got to deal with AD. And then they're going to get in foul trouble. They're going to run out of bodies, because you see at times that Harden was on AD, like, different people was on different people. I was like, man, post that joke up, get him, And but the same thing as well. You saw also early in the game. You saw what's my man the center for the Lakers. You saw him on Harden because of the switches and whatnot. So I was like, oh, good Lord, that don't look too good. You're not going to make a living out of there. But surprisingly, they did well. They held up their own, though. But you can't make a living keep doing that the whole game. So,
right. Yeah, guys, I would be shocked tonight if LeBron didn't come out extremely aggressive from the start of this game and say, all right, fellas, I'm not letting us lose.
Yeah.
That's why we brought him there. The only reason why he there, we told him when he signed for that gold jersey, listen, man, we need you more than we've ever needed anybody else.
Hey,
now don't you see all them banners up there? That's why you here. That's the only reason you here. It's either a banner or you a bus. Period.
Now, and I'm gonna say this too, guys. It's hard. I remember, and Jake probably could agree with this. I remember being in like the ACC tournament or the SEC tournament, whatever league I was in, and if we were the lower seed and we played a game, and then we had to play the team that was a higher seed that set out, that didn't have to play. We had our most upsets in those games because it's hard. It's easy for that team that's played before to come out and play. Like the Lakers went, 7 days?
Yeah.
Just relaxing, not playing, not doing anything. And then Houston comes out. They weren't really in game mode. They weren't there yet. Right. They'll get there.
Hey, let me ask you guys this question, man. As far as for the Lakers, who? But we know AD, we know LeBron, we know those guys, the pillars of the team. But who's that third person that you feel like got to step up?
We don't care about them. That's not why they there.
Hey, who you think, man? That third person?
Know your role, MB. Know your role.
And Kyle Kuzma, he definitely has to step up. I mean, he's the guy they're depending on to be that third wheel. And this is a big series for him to be that third wheel.
Right.
Third by committee. That's who our third man is.
I think Klew's going to be right about that, but I agree with Jake. Kuzma is the guy that they're paying, that they talk about, hey, you need to be the third guy. The interesting thing about that for me with Kuzma is in scouting him and preparing for the draft and whatnot, his personality is not very strong. On the Lakers team, you got some strong personality guys. Rondo has a strong personality. J.R. Smith has a strong personality. Dwight has a strong personality. Deion Waiters has. So I don't know if this guy is kind of like, hey man, I need to sit back and I don't need to assert myself. And the head coach doesn't have a strong personality. And Kuzma need his help to say, hey guys, this is our third option. Because if not, I feel like Kuzma will just slide back into the background like who he is as a person.
Hey, look.
Well, you know what, and I agree, but one guy I think it may not show up in the stats, but I just see him in playoff is Rondo. I think Rondo, man, he been waiting. He haven't played in a while, and I think he's going to quietly be a difference maker in this series, man.
Well, good luck with that. I hope you're right. I'm not depending on that.
He's done that in the past, MB, but I think he's aging a little bit. But, he's done it in the past. I know his nickname is Playoff Rondo.
Yeah, it sounds good. We need it. You only as good as the last time you bounced that thing, ain't that how it works? Go more. Your lead scorer coming there, coach. I busted their tail yesterday, and y'all got a game tonight. What that mean, bro?
Well, speaking about playoff, man, talk about go cross town, man. Talk about the Clippers and the Nuggets, man. What happened? Oh my God,
man! I thought that the Clippers came out and played the game like we're better. We're gonna beat you. We can turn it on whenever we want, and obviously they got smacked. But the Nuggets threw the first punch and kept throwing and and the Clippers they turned it on for a little bit. You guys all play sports. You've always heard it. You can't turn it on and off. You got to be ready to go. And I don't feel like they were. I thought they played a lot of one-on-one basketball. They didn't share the ball in that game, and I didn't think they were ready to play. With that said, Doc does one heck of a job after a loss, and I got a feeling that this next one, bro, they're gonna come out hitting on all cylinders.
Now, hey, Joker did what I thought he was gonna do, and that's annihilate the painted area. And he's a stretch 5 now. He knocks down the 3-point shot. I was going at him. I felt like Jamal was gonna be Jamal. He had a tough out in game 1 after hitting 53 nights in a row. Felt like then he had a tough out, and he gotta have one tough night. But then he brought it back to form. So if we can get Jamal to just play like Jamal playing, Joker's gonna be a problem for him.
Yeah,
Jake, what's your thought, Jake?
I'm impressed with the Nuggets, but I can't quite say a problem. But I am impressed with the Nuggets. I think it's gonna be the Clippers in 6. I really do. But the Nuggets, they are an up and coming ball club, no doubt about that. They got some good young players.
Well, you know what? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jake. Go ahead.
I think the Clippers are going to get them in 6.
Yeah. You know what? And my thoughts on it, man. I agree with what you said, Orlando, man. The Nuggets. I mean, the Clippers came out, man. They inconsistent how they've been doing all year. You know, I mean, they were sleepwalking. It took them a while to wake up. I think they were down by 20 points or something. Got close, reduced got it all the way down to 5, and then they kind of just fell apart, ran out of gas and whatnot. But I think that's one of the things that they've been doing, man. They just haven't been mentally into it. You know, they've been flipping the switch on and off, and it's almost like they've been waiting for this playoff and to get it going. And as you well know, you can't do that. And then Kawhi, man, Kawhi picked a bad night to have an off night, right? He wasn't Kawhi. He didn't score the points that he normally scored. He wasn't difference makers. He was that he normally been in the playoff. So it just caught up with him, man. It caught up with him.
Yeah, I think Denver had a little bit to do with that. Now,
yeah, no doubt.
Kawhi's gonna have big nights, trust me. But I think the way they played him with the kid from Michigan State, Gary Harris and Jerry Grant, who's long and athletic enough to give him some problems. I mean, it's hard to stop the dude, but their help side, running guys in the gap, making him always see 2 and 3 guys, rotating. They gave him it was tough on him. Of course, he'll make the adjustments, but I think the adjustment for those guys is to move the ball and get easier shots. Then it's gonna spread the floor up for everybody.
Yeah.
By the way, the Heat just lost.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's
their first loss in the playoffs, baby.
It's gonna be Milwaukee's better without Giannis. the sports world, they're gonna love that tomorrow.
Yeah, they'll play with that if they want to. I mean, that's a grown man. They better without it for an ending, right? Or towards the end of a 4th period or quarter, whatever you want to call it.
Quickly though, you guys, you think Giannis gone?
No,
he out of there?
I think he's back.
I think he'll leave.
Oh, you mean,
where do you think he will go?
Going for in terms of Milwaukee.
I think the Miami Heat go get him.
What?
He coming that way, baby.
They're structuring their team and their salary cap for that year, and I think it's gonna be Pat Riley's swan song, and they're gonna wind up with him, and Pat Riley's gonna go out of there on a high note.
Why the Heat? What about the Heat that would make? I mean, is there a connection or something like that?
Well, if they're gonna have max money to give. Not everybody's gonna have max money to give. So the Heat is already structuring their salary cap to have the max money for him. And then where would you rather be, in Milwaukee or South Beach?
Hey, you see what Adam said?
Double A, baby.
He like that water, baby. Hey, pull a LeBron, baby. Bring your talents to South Beach, baby. Take your talents to South Beach.
I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about LeBron James, and the guy said, "Have you ever been to Cleveland? Now, where would you rather live, in Cleveland or Miami?" You know?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think you'll wind up there.
Oh man! So, hey, what's you guys' prediction as far as who you gonna see in the NBA Finals, and who you think gonna win it all?
Well, I'll go ahead, Jake.
was going to say, out of the West, I still think the Lakers are going to get out of the West. The East is just so hard to say. I mean, I would have said a week ago Milwaukee, but it's hard to say right now. I'm gonna go with Boston. Boston Lakers. Old school, back in the 80s. The old school championship. Lakers, Boston.
You know what? I'm right there with Jake. It's that Lakers Clippers series is going to be one heck of a deal, but it's hard for me to go against LeBron. I think that he's going to find a way to get his team back to the finals again. And whoever comes out of this Raptors Celtics deal, I think will be in the finals. And I would have to go with the Celtics right now. You know, but it's interesting. In this game of basketball in the NBA with the analytics and the three-point line and how everybody's trying to play, the Miami Heat is really set up for playoff basketball.
Right.
They're a half-court team with good enough shooters and very good defensively, because once you get to this point, it becomes more of a half-court game. And that's what's really hurt Milwaukee and the Greek Freak, because they need to be up and down.
Right.
When you put them in a half-court setting, it changes the game a little bit. You look at the Lakers, they can play both ways. They can play either way you want to play. They can play both ways. And so, but I think the Celtics, Raptors, that one of those two will be in the finals, and I go with Jake with the Celtics, and then I think the Lakers will pull it out.
Well, I'm going with Adam, Double A, man. I'm going to Lakers in the Heat, baby. I ain't going against my hometown team, baby. Lakers in the Heat, baby, all the way.
Well, you take them on home. Hey, guys, we appreciate y'all stopping through again, man. We about to transition this thing to the NFL, a little something that me and MB definitely know about. And we're going to bring in a guy that might know a little bit more than even us.
Hey,
we
thank
appreciate
you
you guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, have a go.
We done brought him in, the man of the hour. One of the Duke Blue Devils, man. Listen, you know, we don't get a lot of love, but I love the love on us when we in the building, man. Mr. Ray Farmer, man. If it's been done in football, he done did it. That's how I'm gonna announce him. Yeah. There it is.
Ray?
Whoop, there it is.
We got to unmic him. Ray, unmic yourself.
I'm muted up. I was gonna say there's a whole lot that's been done in football that I haven't done. So I'm gonna give some kudos to them other brothers that actually got it done. But I have been blessed to be around the game for a long time. So,
man, well, listen, they trimming rosters around here to 53. I remember my first option with that man. He'll be around there shopping and stuff. I'm around there. I'm scared to go with it. Well, hey, Ray, here go the kicker with me, right? They didn't even tell me how this process was gonna go. Like, my roommate had got cut on the first cut, so I'm in there by myself. And then, like, I didn't know if they call you, they don't call you, so I'm just sitting there, right? Like, in the room, I wake up. I'll get up 4, 5 in the morning anyway. So I'm sitting up to then, and then I'm looking at this paper. This paper say we got a team meeting at like 9 o'clock. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, do I go? Nobody told me to go. Like, what do I do? So I'm sitting there, and it's like 7:30. And so I say, should I get dressed? Like, ain't nobody said. So it get 8 o'clock. And you know, I'm one of them guys, I show up early. And Bill tell you, like, I ain't never on time or late. Like, I'm early. So I'm like, do I go in there? Do I wait on a phone call? Because they ain't told me nothing. So I go ahead and drive over to the facility. And then I walk in there and everybody talking about congratulations and all that. I'm like, congratulations for what? Ain't nobody told me.
Ain't nobody told you nothing.
Yeah, so how y'all congratulate me? And it wasn't until, man, I walked into the team meeting room and Jim Foster said, congratulations to everybody, y'all made the team. That I was like, ooh, I made it. I can call mom and them after practice.
Hey, Klew, it remind. I don't know if you remember this show. It's probably before your time, but No News with Good News with Gary Canoe. You remember that show back in the day?
I remember that show, but that's
remember
definitely outside of Klew's age range.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Tell me, Ray, like,
no news was good.
why
news.
y'all don't tell nobody that? You know, you've been on the other side of this now. Like, how y'all forget this guys ain't never did this before.
That is true, but I think that everyone gets the 50,000-foot view explanation, which is look around the room, gentlemen. The guy sitting beside you probably not going to be here in 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's the general 50,000-foot view that they try to tell everybody. There's 9 people in the room. About half of y'all going to be gone when it's time to come cut down. And that's where they leave it. No one goes into the intricacies. Well, a few teams go into the intricacies of how they're going to do it. And it's hard, man. I mean, I've always heard it termed as Bloody Friday. Like, it's a sad day, man. It's a hard day for the head coach. It's a hard day for the GM. And it's dang sure a hard day for that guy they send in that locker room to go get people.
Right.
So I've seen it done like American Idol, where they start breaking cats up and putting them in the rooms and then drag a whole room in there and cut them at the same time.
Right.
I've seen it done where they actually take the time and say, okay, Ray Farmer, let's talk to you, son. You're not going to make the team. Anything you want to say, any suggestions of what we can do better? I've seen it done that way. It really just depends on the program and the people that are doing it. Some people really want to get that opportunity to have a real conversation with you, right?
Right.
And I've been that guy to have to go down there and tap people on the shoulder. Never a good look.
Right.
Never a good look.
Wow.
Right. They call that guy what, the Turk or something like
Turk.
that? Got a name, special name for him.
The Turk. And the Turk is a real guy. And everybody know who he is once he starts tapping folks on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they ask you for that iPad and that power cord. Back in the day, they ask you for your playbook.
Right.
Right.
You know, it's the change in the times, man. That process is never going to get any better because I've said this repeatedly. Mike, how long did you play ball before you even got to the league? What age did you start playing at?
I played organized football when I was in the 6th grade.
How about you, Klew?
8.
The first time you ever – I started like a Klew by 8 or 9. But I will say this. I never got told no about football until I got to the league.
Wow.
I always made the team. I was always good enough. I always played. And when the first time I did get cut, it was the first time I'd ever heard no in sports.
Wow.
And that's a hard thing for most people to understand is that these people have been successful, ultra successful.
Yeah, you're
1% of the 1%. So just imagine you're a doctor or a dentist or a librarian or whatever your profession is, and the first time you ever mess it up or you don't make it or it's not great is at the end of the movie. That's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, man. It really is. And so I've always tried to take the tact of everybody deserves their moment. You got to give that person a chance to explain and vent as to why they are frustrated or what their feelings are behind getting released, because it can and it generally is traumatic.
God. Hey, guys, I got my homeboy here, Calvin Nixon, on. He's going to talk about fantasy football after we get through with this series. He want to just listen in to Ray. Hey, Ray, walk us through how that process of getting down to that 53. Is it a collective process where the coach is involved? Is it just strictly from the personnel standpoint? Is it the head coach and the general manager? Kind of walk us through that process of how y'all dwindle down to make the 50-man, get to the 53-man roster.
Well, generally, it's a little bit of everybody, but the guys that hold the most weight at that point in time is really the GM and the head coach. But everybody gets their input. And so the places I've been, you generally have the scouts go through the process all during camp, right? So they're watching every practice. You got pods of scouts standing around, watching different position groups. And you always got that little pad and that pen, right? So they taking notes, coaches' notes, figuring out who they like, why they like. Meet all day and night during training camp, trying to figure out the roster. From the coaching side, they're dealing with you. They in the room. Mike B, how'd you get the pick on cover 2 when you dropped underneath it? Then you read that they were throwing the seam and you bailed out. You should have been in the flat. You're like, nah, I saw it, coach. I made the play. Klew, what was you doing, man? You chased the dude to the flat. It's cover 2. Like, every little thing is going to get scrutinized. Every play you make, every play you miss, what your potential upside is, how quickly you learn the playbook, how many busts you had. I've seen teams go through the process and give a guy something simple as a +0 or minus every single day he's in camp. Give him a +0 or minus for every period he's in camp. So no matter how many reps you got, it was either a good day, a flat day, or a bad day.
Right.
And they try to aggregate all of that data to figure out who actually is going to make the team. Inevitably, it comes down to those coaches saying, these are the 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that I think I like.
Right.
Generally, if you break down a roster, and again, I'm going to try to do this without even writing anything down, but most teams keep 2 to 3 quarterbacks. We'll just say 3 for argument's sake because it's old school. A lot of teams keep 2 now.
Right.
So keep somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 running backs, right? Then you'll keep 3 tight ends. You'll keep 8 or 9, rarely 10 offensive linemen. And you'll keep 5, 6 wide receivers. So let me see. 3 QBs, 4 running backs, that's 7. You got another 5 wide receivers, that's 12. You got, let's say, 10 offensive linemen, that's 22. And who did I miss?
Tight ends.
Tight ends, 3 tight ends, that's 25. That's your side of the ball. Do the same thing on the defense. If you're a 40 team or 40 front team, you'll keep 8 D linemen, 6 linebackers, and then 10 DBs. And there's a 1 float guy who's generally a special teams guy.
Yeah.
DB or he's a linebacker that gets you to 25 again. That's your 25, 3 specialists. That's your 53. Just on a general basis, right?
Right.
Take that out of it. You don't cut good players.
Yeah.
Right. So once you realize, man, Klew can play. Don't call him. I don't care if we had our 5 or 6 guys that we know we're gonna keep. Don't call that guy that we think can play. Now, I will say this year, to me, is an anomaly year. COVID has made it so that if you're a little bit of a riverboat gambler as a coach and as a GM, you can actually cut guys because nobody had any tape.
Right. Right.
So there's no preseason. You don't know.
Right.
I don't know Klew balled out in preseason.
Right. That's what I was talking about, LB. I wouldn't have made it, man.
So guess what? Klew, you would have got cut today.
Yeah.
Right. They'd have got you.
Right.
Yeah. And the reason they may not have got you, right? So now the conversation shifts to how much attention did Klew have? If there was 5, 10, 20 teams competing for you after the draft,
exactly,
then can't cut Klew.
Right.
I'm gonna take him.
Exactly.
Or if he got drafted, I can't. If he played last preseason, like there's all these little things that start to play into your mind. If the guy don't have no fanfare, if ain't nobody checking for him, cut it.
Yeah.
Because guess what?
You put him on
practice squad.
Yeah.
This year you get to protect 4. They give you 16 on practice squad. You get to protect 4 of them. Put them under the protection. And if you don't even have, if nobody was checking for him then, or nobody's checking for him now, cut him and don't worry about it. If he's been cut a bunch before, cut him. Don't worry about it. There's a lot of angles to playing the psychology game that there's probably some really good players that should have made some teams this year.
Yeah. That
didn't make it because they had a chance to stash or hide a guy that no one really knows he balled out during camp.
Right.
So the interesting teams have actually done a lot of homework on who they liked previously, as well as what I call modern day millennial scouting. They went through and they had them young guys reading all the beat writers' information to figure out who did ball out at whose camp.
Yeah.
And try to get some legs up that way. So it's not an exact science, but I would tell you, I think that's what the smart teams are doing this year.
Hey, you mentioned about Ray, you mentioned about the four people protection. Can you explain that? That's the first time I heard it about that.
Okay, so this year, 16 people can be on practice squad. Remember back in our day, Mike, it was like 6.
Exactly.
And then it kept growing. And so recently, the new terms is 16 people, because of COVID, can now be on practice squad.
Okay.
Of that 16, you can protect 4.
Oh, wow.
Those 4 can't be poached, right? So what we used to do as a pro personnel director was you go through the list, you flip the list, and you know everybody on everybody's practice squad. And if they happen to try to stash Klew, and I watched that preseason tape and I like Klew, or I didn't catch him till late, or I didn't feel good about him early, or whatever, I'm going to get him in the middle of the season and tell him, hey, you want to make 53 money, or you happy making that practice squad money?
Right.
I'm gone, baby.
He gone. He gonna get on the plane.
Right.
Now, I will say this: some teams, if they really like a guy, really like the guy, they might pay him his full salary to be on practice squad.
Wow.
Those are rare instances.
I've heard of that before.
But it can't happen.
Yeah.
Wow.
It can't happen.
Now, Ray, when a team, say if a team poach him and they pick him up, then what? The rule is that if they pick a player up from practice squad, the opposite team, they got to, how long does that player got to stay on the team for?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
You know, here's the difference. At the first cut, it's not the same, right? So this first cut, you can actually claim the guy and then decide you want to get rid of him and do what you want to do. But during the year, if I decide to go get Ray Farmer from somebody's practice squad and bring him on, then I got to keep that guy on my active roster for 3 weeks. And then now once he's on the roster, not active, I got to keep him on the roster for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, he's fair game again to be cut or dismissed or whatever.
Right. Calvin, you had a question for Ray?
Yeah. How you doing, Ray?
How are you?
Okay, great. Listen, I was wondering, what do you think will be some of the long-term impacts of having to maneuver with COVID nowadays?
Depends on what angle you want to go with. You want to go with roster impact? You want to go with financial impact? You want to go with? I think there's gonna be a lot of impact. I think
talk about the roster impact just for the sake right now.
Okay,
you mentioned we already seen one with no preseason games and whatnot. Talk about that.
No preseason games is an issue. I think that, at least for me, when you consider roster limits and what we've allowed to have happen, the NFL has always kind of constricted rosters and kept them tight.
Right.
That expansion of the roster in and of itself, people get used to having bodies around.
Yep.
It's going to be hard to reduce and go back. I mean, everybody that's played in the league will tell you this. The first time you get to an NFL team, that first practice after cut downs, it seemed like everybody got
gone.
Right.
It used to be crowded. The sideline used to be. All of a sudden, everybody on the field getting reps. You look over, there's 3 dudes standing on the sideline. And you're like, man, why am I over here? I need to try to get in on practice squad or something, get in practice. But the point is coaches get used to bodies. Bodies then change how we prepare. Preparation then leads to performance. And so I think it's going to be hard for them to unravel that coin and get it back to the tight-knit, drilled down, 10 guys on practice squad. Like those extra 6 players, even the protection rules. Protection is kind of anti-NFL, right? The NFL was all about opportunity.
Exactly.
If you cut a good player, you shouldn't be able to protect him and keep him in your stash and protect him and restrict his earnings down here. They're going to have some questions to answer about all of that. So now it lends to how do you put the genie back in the bottle? To me, this is a toothpaste issue. Once it's out, it's out.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna have some problems, in my opinion, really trying to force that genie back in the bottle because, like I said, coaches like what they like, and more players is always a positive in their perspective.
Well, Ray, would this lean more to, if I'm not mistaken, because I know the owners before this whole COVID-19, they wanted to reduce the preseason games and add more regular season games. Does this lean into more of that, giving them advantage to say, now see, this fits in what we want to do? Or,
yes and no, right? So on the yes side of, if you want to say, hey, there was no preseason, these guys were right into playing regular season games, check the box, right? That's going to happen.
Yeah.
But what's not going to happen is personnel guys, GMs, guys that are actually in those meeting, coaches, they really didn't get a chance to evaluate the guy to make the team.
Yeah.
You had to have some scrimmages and some live period practices to decide whether or not you like this guy, but he never really got the chance to demonstrate what he's capable of. And the largest part of that is special teams.
Yeah.
Nobody got to run down on a kickoff and demonstrate that they can make a play.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right? Nobody got to cover a punt and say, look, I can play in space.
Right.
So the preconceived notions that you had about that guy still exist.
Yeah.
You didn't get a chance to dismiss any of that. So I think players are going to fight for, again, forget me. Veteran players don't need preseason like the young guys do. You just don't.
Yeah.
Mike would tell you after about that 3rd preseason, I'm good.
Right. No doubt.
I'll see y'all week 1.
Yeah. Exactly.
I might get a little bit of a tune-up for a half in preseason week 2. Then we're done. I'm going to cruise that thing on in and we good. But for me, I think it's hard to to think that the owners won't continue to push for those extra games because regular season games mean regular season money.
Yeah.
Regular season money means bigger TV contracts.
No
bigger
doubt.
TV contracts equal bigger salary cap revenue. Bigger
Right.
salary cap revenue equal more money for players.
Yes.
So it's that trickle down, if you want to call it that, makes sense to try to grow the pie, but at what cost?
Yeah. Yeah.
At what cost? I mean, guys have been willing to put their bodies on the line, and that's been proven. The question is after it's all said and done, and what is the toll? What is the price you actually pay for playing 10 years and 18 game seasons and playing 180 games and it's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Ray, Adam got a question.
Ray, you said you talked about the more bodies practice squad, and I agree completely with you. I don't think the owners are going to want to let that go, and I think that plays well for NFL PA as well, because we don't have a minor league, ain't no D league in NFL, so that can substitute as the NFL's D league.
Maybe. Okay, so Klew, you was around when they had NFL Europe,
right?
Why did they get rid of NFL Europe?
Revenue, no money. They was paying out every time.
Right.
Because guys got hurt. Owners don't like writing checks for people that don't play.
Right.
Right. It's like anybody that runs a business. You mean I got to pay Ray Farmer not to be here?
Right.
That's not a good look. So if I got to pay somebody not to be here, he better be a real guy. He better be somebody that hopefully he comes back and he can contribute. Nothing worse than having to pay a guy a full salary and you don't even think he can play for your roster or help you.
Right.
So there's going to be caution about the kind of junior practice squad, excessive practice squad, and how do you put that genie back in the bottle? Because even this year, like I said, COVID presents unique issues. If I sit next to Klew in class and Klew sits next to Mike B, and Mike B sits next to Calvin, and I pop positive, guess what? Ain't none of us playing on Sunday.
Exactly.
Everybody out. Y'all didn't do nothing wrong. Y'all just sat beside Klew just sat beside me. So that's why you got to have the extra body because you don't know. You one pop positive wrong from your quarterback, center, and both guards being gone.
Right. So Ray. So is it delusional to think that that the NFL season can go on? I mean, like it takes one grenade and then, like you said, man, your whole starting linebacker group can be out. I mean,
out of there.
What's your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think it's a fantasy that they can play?
Oh, they playing.
They can get it done.
It's not a fantasy. I'm with Klew. They playing.
Oh yeah.
I know they playing, but you think they finish the season?
They will finish the season. This year, to me, is an exercise in self-discipline and self-control. The team with the best self-discipline and self-control gives themselves a distinct advantage over everyone else. So that's hard to tell a group of young men, testosterone filled, pockets laced, tons of free time, to stay at the crib and not mess this thing up.
Bro, it ain't gonna happen.
But here's what I'll tell you. The first dude out there at the COVID party tripping on Tuesday night won't be there.
Yeah.
Klew got him. Hey, call the Turk. Klew got the best. Call him up. And guess what? Klew, now you get to go out in there and tell that young man, we need your iPad and your power cord.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
come back tomorrow. And guess what? Now we're gonna put it out. Why did he get cut? He was at the COVID party last night.
Right, exactly.
I'll move into the stadium, bro. I'll be staying right in the stadium. They'll be coming downstairs. This fool live here. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Ray, talk about looking at the roster and you seeing teams get down to the 53. Is there any teams that really stand out to you? Like, man, I like how they putting the team together. Any team stand out, and who you think got the best chance of winning it all this year?
That's always a tricky question, right? I think historically I would tell you when you look at the really good teams, the playoff teams, 44 to 47 of those dudes is already picked before we even got to camp.
Yeah.
Right, there's probably 6 to 7 spots that we kind of toiling through to see if that next guy can make it. Most of them spots are spoken for.
Right.
Man, it's hard because.
Well, let me ask you this then. What any moves surprise you? Any cuts surprise you? Any moves like that?
Nothing surprises me anymore because everybody is on this individual quest to demonstrate how smart they are.
Okay.
That may sound arrogant, but that's to me what the league is kind of going towards. Is that think about this? Most people try not to cut their draft picks.
Yeah,
they try.
Right.
And the only reason they cut them is because something else happened. It's a domino.
Right.
So this guy got hurt means we got to sign this other guy, which means you got to go home.
Right.
Right. I can't fault the team for trying to add a veteran player when another player gets hurt and then it costs another guy a spot.
Right.
And so that balancing act is where it gets tricky. Now, here's the funny thing. It's always the competitions. This is why I think from a personnel guy, this is the best time of year for me. And it's because you get to have the conversations about truly how to build your team and where you're going to start from.
There it is.
And those conversations ain't always, well, Mike's the starting wheel and Klew can be his backup. The conversation is, hey, Klew might be the 5th linebacker, but Farmer's the 7th. Is Farmer a better special teams than the 6th wide receiver?
Yeah.
And that's when the conversation starts to get exciting, right?
Right.
How do we actually make our team better and not just these individual rules? Because everybody ain't gonna play.
Right. Well,
the guys who actually contribute to the roster, when you start drilling down and getting to that 46-man roster, those are the guys that the coaches really want to know about. Them last 7 dudes, they here, but they practice squad plus in my mind. They're just guys you had to keep on the roster.
Yeah, you know what, man, well said. Help us understand, because me and Klew, we've been watching the Jacksonville Jaguars. Can you please?
I knew y'all were going there.
Bring some clarity.
What's going on? What are they doing? It's like a fire sale going on, and they still saying the company line like, "Hey, we got a great young team."
Right.
But tell me. What's going on? I'm confused about
y'all got a 2-win team.
Because it looked to me like they're tanking and they trying to position themselves to get Trevor Lawrence and maybe Dabo Swinney as a package deal. Can you shine some light on what's going on?
You said it. I ain't say none of that. That's all I ain't say none of that.
I told you you was right. You was on it.
But I will say this though. Not a bad strategy if you can pull it off.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say this to you, Mike. You remember this. 2006, maybe it was 2006 or 7. Maybe it might have been 7. But actually, maybe it's probably later than that. Point is, I was with the Chiefs at the time. I can't remember the year.
Okay.
It was Peyton Manning's last year in Indy, and he hurt his neck.
Yeah.
They paid that man $20 million to sit at home. And they rolled out there with Curtis Painter, a variety of other guys at quarterback, and they proceeded to not win a lot of games.
Yeah.
That year they drafted Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
And guess what? That 11-5 football team that Peyton Manning had, they had a bad season. They let Peyton Manning walk out the door.
Yeah.
There's 11-5 the very next year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Ray, we appreciate your knowledge, man. You're gonna have to be a constant on here. You are player personnel, general manager of the show, man. So we gonna be checking in with you throughout the season, man.
All I need to know from Mike, do I get the honorary you because I'm cool with your boy Ryan McNeil and I know K. Lewis fam? Can I be in the U family at least while I'm on the show?
Yeah, you come in with it, baby. We'll get you, baby. Hey, Ray, before you go, man, just tell the people what you got going on, man, so they can tune into it. What you got happening?
Man, there's nothing for them to tune into. I still do some consulting things around the league. Thinking about probably trying to do what you guys do, getting to some sort of radio here in a minute. Commercial real estate has been good to me, so I can't complain about that.
Amen.
Probably my biggest thing is trying to mentor these young men and talk to them about the realities of kind of where life is and give them some ideas of what their core values should be, how they should be considering some of these scholarship opportunities they get.
Yeah.
And for those that aren't getting those scholarship opportunities that they want, how their grades affect that process, how their personality affects that process. And then for those that actually do go, how they become professional networkers and utilize some of these universities to build their core brands so that whether they make it to the league or not, they'll still find themselves in the 1% because there's a way for them to create at least an interest where they have 100 job opportunities by the time they graduate in 4 years.
Wow.
That if they become what I call professional networkers, they can pull that off. The reality is a lot of us don't go down that pathway of going to college with a distinct plan on the way in the door. So that's probably the best thing I've been doing recently is trying to talk to these young men about how to better themselves. And that's it.
Hey, is there a way for if young men want to get involved with that? Is there a website or a way to contact you? Are you doing it in the Orlando area or how can kids get involved?
Yeah, Atlanta.
I'm in Atlanta, but currently what we're doing is we're utilizing a group of 7-on-7 coaches, and those kids that were playing in those 7-on-7s, those kids are the kids that we originally invited, and then they get to. We want to work from a grassroots perspective. I want to know Michael Barrow as a player, but I need to know his mom, his dad. I want to know the people that actually can talk to him and put something in his head other than me. And before I put something in his head, I want to talk to his mom and dad and explain to them this is the reason why we're going through the process. So we don't want kids just kind of jumping in and signing up, but we definitely want everybody to kind of get on board at some point. May take a little bit because it is a grassroots effort, but nevertheless, the goal is to try to turn the tide on what some of these young men are experiencing.
ATL, man, y'all better take advantage. I know I was there. I have my son signed up right away.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
hunt him down, man, and get that wealth of knowledge. Hey, Ray, man, appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're awesome.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you very much for having me. Anytime.
All right, man. Our pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Peace. All right, Cal. Man, you done heard enough about these moves from the general manager. And now you're going to tell us, as the GM of your league, how y'all making moves with fantasy football. What was the draft like? First of all, talk to us about y'all draft and why is it the best draft in fantasy football?
Well, for the most part, this year, like everyone else, we were on pins and needles, wondering if the league was even going to start, So it made it, getting prepared for draft very hard because where you would normally have, 2-3 weeks out, going through your magazines, going through your information as far as setting up your rosters. We really weren't sure how the league would actually start. But this year, we actually started. We had our draft, and it worked really well. We actually did the draft about a week ago. And so right now we're just ready. But the problem we're having now is a lot of guys, for the most part, getting moved around. Like you saw the big deal that happened with the guy in Jacksonville.
Right.
Yeah. So, and if you had already drafted him, he was hanging out there unsigned. So, it's a big impact there.
Hey, Calvin, talked about this, man. I never played fantasy football in my life, man. How does that whole thing work? How you score points? Man, how do you keep score? I mean, how do you win? Talk to me about that for those who don't even know what fantasy football is all about.
Well, you know me, Mike. I've been playing for years. I've been dealing with fantasy football for a long time. But I'm actually a part of the –
Since what year? What year you started?
2001.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so I've been a part of a league with a couple guys. Of course, we had a couple guys come and go. This year, we actually had about 3-4 new players come in. But, I'm a part of a Yahoo Fantasy Football League, and it's called the Stargazers. And, so for the most part, it's an IDP league, which is individual defensive players. Some leagues you have where you just have an overall defense.
Okay.
But what we actually do, we do your regular, quarterback, running back, wide receiver. You have your kickers, and then you have the individual players. You have to also draft linebackers, defensive backs, defensive ends. So it makes it a little bit more challenging. But it's a lot of fun.
And then how you score points? How is the pointing system? How does all that work?
Well, I mean, the settings, you have a commissioner. I'm not a commissioner of that particular league. I have a public league that I'm commissioner of.
Man, you're commission. I'm taking the knee like Cabernet and see what you do. I'm taking the knee right now.
Yeah, you put your Black Lives Matter shirt on, man.
Hey, it's all good. I mean, we'll work with you. We're gonna work with you. I mean,
okay, work with me, baby. I like you, Commissioner. I can play for you.
At the end of the day, you need production.
But tell me, how does the point system work, Cabo?
Well, I mean, so for example, like each position carries, like for example, like if you score a touchdown, you get 4 points. For every 10 yards a running back gets, you get a point. But when it comes to the point system, when you're playing against another player, it's whoever generates the most points at the end of that week for competition play.
Okay. All right. Now, when you mentioned earlier about drafting your team, like Ray just talked about putting a team together. What's the strategy in going in to put a team together? Do you look for a quarterback first in this league? Do you look for a linebacker like Klew? I mean, talk to me, baby. With trained killers, where do you start? What's some strategies putting your team together for those who want to know?
Yeah, well, I mean, so the first thing you need to do is make sure you understand your league settings in terms of what type of league you're in. You have a 10-man league, you have a 12-man league. Some leagues come with 2 quarterbacks, some come with 2 tight ends. Once you understand that, then you can kind of prep for your draft. For me, it's always going to be running back heavy. Even more so this year with the COVID. Guys may go down. Running backs to me get, they take on a lot more punishment throughout the year. You want a guy to last, the whole 16 weeks. But a lot of guys will tell you not to, stay away from the quarterbacks in the earlier rounds. But to me, it's just about how you want to take and how you want to build your league. But I will always recommend you to go after your core position players first. I try to target top 5 guys. Like, so for example, I want to try and get a top 5 quarterback. I want to get a top 5 running back if I can, depending upon the players in the league. Top 5 receiver, top 5 tight end in those first earlier rounds. After that, then you just want to kind of build and stack your players so that you'll have guys to cycle out throughout the season.
Now, obviously, you just mentioned an important point, COVID. Ray talked about it too. The NFL adjusted their rules. Now, this NFL fantasy world, do you get a couple more players as well?
Oh, of course. I mean, this year I've loaded up on a lot of running backs, and and I noticed, like, when I started the draft, it's like you come in with this script of how you want to draft guys, and guess what? The 10 other guys in the league are all hitting running backs. So,
right.
And I think because of the fact that, we're trying to anticipate that there's going to be some guys who may not be around to carry us through the season.
So talk about draft day, man. So is it y'all all on Zoom at the same time, and somebody, you see your guys going out, you got your little draft board going on in there, man. I mean, talk to me about draft day, how that whole process works.
Well, for us, we actually do our draft through, like I said, Yahoo Sports, and It's actually online. And, we don't get a chance to, meet with each other, but, you go.
Yeah. Come on. You talk trash, Calvin.
Oh, no, through the chat, but I'm focused. I'm dialed in,
Okay.
So and then afterwards, we all kind of meet up and we call. And then that's when, the guys start talking and start evaluating, how well you did. But for the most part, we just draft on the platform, and it's really intense, though. Our draft in the IDP League will last you up to about 2 hours.
Wow. Okay. Now, are y'all making trades and all that stuff too, Calvin, or it all just lay out as is and no trades? You just got to pick.
Well, later on, after you draft your team, you can make trades, but in our league, guys are kind of like set with, if they draft a team, they got the championship team. They don't want to make trades, but unfortunately when bye weeks come along, you end up getting some of those guys out in the waiver wire.
Okay, now, talk to us about we want to still, since you already got your draft, got your team together. All right, who was you mentioned about top 5 player in each category going into the fantasy football league? Like, who is the top running back? Who's the number 1 pick for running back? Who's the number 1 pick for quarterback? And who's the number 1 pick for receiver?
Well, I mean, these will actually be from my perspective. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there kind of got their boards, in a way where they would like it. But for me, of course, you got to go with Lamar Jackson for quarterback. I mean, just what he does on the aspect in terms of the running and the passing.
Yeah.
So it's very important that if you're in the league, to look at those running stats or however you're setting with the running, because you can also get a double bonus for the pass and the running. Because with Lamar Jackson, he's going to get you the points. But of course, when we're talking about receiver, you got Michael Thomas. I mean, very consistent.
Well, hey, Kevin, are you over there looking at your draft board? Go ahead and pick it up, baby.
No. I mean, because you call. Hey, I got little notes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like it. Go ahead and read it, baby.
No, of course, Michael Thomas. I mean, very consistent. I mean, I had him on my team last year. It just seems like nobody who he has back there as quarterback. He has Teddy Bridgewater back there. He just does a wonderful job as far as being consistent. Everyone will have him at the top of the boards. And that tight end, of course, you got Travis Kelce. He's a stud. I would also put Kittle up there as well. Okay. But it just depends on the guys in your league, what their preferences are. You may be having guys plugged to go at a certain position, but it just depends on the other players in the league.
Now, one position you forgot. What about running back? Who's your top running back on the
Well, I mean, a dream choice would be, you got to go with McCaffrey. I mean, you can't hands down. But for me, I got I got your boy Henry, man. I mean, in Tennessee, I mean, he's a workhorse. He's a pounder. Yeah. And, Derrick Henry is just, to me, is just the ultimate back. They're talking about giving him more passes, and hopefully that'll translate into a little bit more points. But hands down, I mean, those guys are like, to me, you watch guys come up on Travis Henry and tackling. They don't want to tackle that guy.
Right. Now, Cowboy, talk about if say guys like me who never played before want to get involved, what's the best advice that you would give us as far as getting us started? Where should we go? What league we should start off with? Any advice you have for us as far as how we can get started?
Yeah. Like I said, there's a couple leagues out there. The favorites, you got Yahoo Fantasy Football. You have ESPN, and you have NFL football, fantasy football leagues. I would recommend that you probably try just a free public league. I know with Yahoo, they have the private leagues. Those are the leagues that most of the members, people who are together, who as a team have started a league. But I would probably try to have them do a public league. That's
and Calvin, you showing your age, man. You've been playing too long. You kept calling him Travis Henry. He used to play there too, but you talk about Derrick Henry right now.
Travis Henry? No, I said Derrick Henry.
No, you kept saying Travis.
No. Derrick Henry, no.
Okay.
We'll go back and check the footage.
You go catch it. You go catch it yourself. But I kept saying Travis. We played against Travis.
Now, Cowboy, talk about now with these leagues and stuff. What's the prize, man? Do you get a trophy? Do you win some cash? Or what's the prize at the end of the rainbow, man?
Well, yeah, I mean, with my group, we put a couple dollars in, but it's nothing. It's just to generate interest. But you can get into some leagues where you can probably go into DraftKings. I mean, they have those other leagues, and even through Yahoo, you can also sign up with your PayPal, and you can play guys that way for money. But for me, it's just fun. It's a hobby. I've been doing it a long time. If guys want to just put a couple dollars in just to make it sweeter at the end of the day. But for the most part, I just do it for fun.
And look here, man. Before we go, man, go ahead and get this young lady a shout out, Miss Callie, because she been showing you love.
That's his little twin right there.
That's my baby girl, man. She's up there at UK. She's on the gymnastics team. We're very proud of her. So you guys, hopefully in the SEC they get things rolling. You'll be able to see her compete and do her thing. So that's my girl though. I see you,
Callie. She told you, hey, what's up, Callie? It's Uncle Mike, girl.
Hey, we're definitely proud of her. Hopefully they get their season, and y'all can zoom in, watch it live stream, or maybe they'll give you a couple tickets to sneak in there. Sure. So, man, we appreciate you. We definitely want you to come by. Let us know how the league going, and maybe we'll shout out some of you guys who taking over your league, man. Don't let us call you an expert. And we find out, look at Yahoo, and you in a 10-man league, and you don't let that happen. So we appreciate you coming, man, and we'll holler at you sometime soon.
No, for sure.
Man, this show been longer than we definitely anticipated it to be. But we love y'all, ballers. We appreciate y'all coming in and talking with us. MB, go ahead and close us.
Yeah. Hey, Froze, appreciate my boy. This is my best friend growing up in high school down from Homestead, man. My man, he wouldn't let me say his nickname I used to give him. But that's my dude there, man. I appreciate it coming on. But also just want to let you know once again about a contest that we're doing for us. Go on the website, Sideline or Baseline. Hey, we're highlighting a difference maker, man. We're highlighting, you get the chance to nominate a coach who made a difference by sacrificing their time, talent, and treasures into the lives of you and others, and we're calling it Labor Day of Love. We're going to announce the winner tomorrow. We're going to do a special show announcement with that where we'll announce the winner of the contest. So it's not too late, all right? It's not too late. Show some love for those guys that made a difference in your life. Me and Calvin, I know who I'm nominating, a guy named Bobby McCray. He made a difference in my life, and not just my life, but life of others.
All right, MB, cut it out. Stop right now.
No.
I don't want to lose. Just stop it. Don't say another name.
All right. He'll want me to start crying because last time I started talking about Bobby McCray and Coach Granberry on JV, right?
There you go.
All right, I'm going to hold up, but listen. Hey, make sure you go nominate your coach, man. Hey, appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get our notifications because we got a lot of good things going on, man. We got a lot of good things going on.
There you go.
Say hi. Hi. Yeah, you see Uncle Cal say, hey, hello, Mr. K-Lou.
Hi, Mr. K-Lou.
And so hi to
Mr. All right. We appreciate y'all coming to check us out. Thanks to Calvin. Thanks for Ray, Orlando, and Coach Morton, man. They would make our show. Them and especially you guys, man. Keep tuning in. We love y'all, and we'll holler at y'all later for Sideline and Baseline with MB and K-Lou. We are.
And Cal.